Welcome. I've been talking about the importance of a cultural due diligence and basically when it can be considered acceptable to carry out just a basic assessment. I will now start talking about the dimension of the cultural due diligence and basically how to assess the culture. Of course, due to the nature of these videos, the information is going to be very high level, but actually will help you getting the main points into consideration and actually to develop them whether you will have to carry out a cultural due diligence yourself. So first of all is who is going to carry out the cultural due diligence? Well, there are different options here. Sometimes there are people in the human resources department and this can be not a very good idea. Why? Depends on the quality of your human resources department. If you have a human resources department that is very strategic, in the case, not a problem. So someone that basically is aligned to the business strategy and basically has got the gravitas and the knowledge to sit at board level. In this case, go with the human resources department. If your human resources department is more like an administrative stuff, to be honest, leave it. Because what they will very likely do is just get a checklist and go through tick the boxes. So again, it depends on the profile of your human resources department and on the kind of business model that they have. If you want actually to get someone who's a specialist in carrying out cultural due diligence, you can actually get specialized independent consultants. So these are people that have done this kind of exercises tons of times and know exactly what they are doing. You will not run into the risk of having a newly graduate or someone with very little experience with that is paid tons of money and actually is making experience out of your due diligence. Again, you don't want that. So whatever method you're going to use, whether the person is going to be internal or external, always make sure that this person has the gravitas, the experience and the international remit to carry out a thorough and reliable cultural assessment. With regards to basically how to do it, fundamentally there are two steps. The first step will be for the purchaser to look at its own culture. So how do we do things here? And then basically it will be the second step to look at the culture of the target. How do they do things there? And basically by making a comparison between these two assessments, it will be possible to see whether there is a good fit, whether there are some interventions that can be implemented in order to facilitate the integration of the two companies. I must say that it's usually unlikely that you will be able to carry out a thorough cultural due diligence at due diligence stage. And this is why, because of course the access to the target is usually quite limited. But this doesn't have to be a justification for not doing a good job. If especially the deal is actually not hostile, you will still have the possibility to access managers by carrying out interviews. Very unlikely that you will be able to carry out surveys or focus groups because they require a more in-depth involvement from the management, and also are two of the elements that I will talk about later on how to carry out a cultural due diligence. However, you can actually start doing a cultural assessment at due diligence stage, and then if of course there are no deal killers, so basically it's there is reasonable belief that there is a good fit, actually carrying on with a more in-depth assessment at the next stage, which is actually the transition stage. And actually it can also carrying on an integration stage. I actually usually advise clients not to wait up to the integration stage because actually that will be too late. So always make sure that the cultural due diligence is carrying out at due diligence stage, at least the basic one, or try to gather as much information as you can. And then if there is a requirement to go even in more depth, which is very likely, you will have actually to carry on at the next step. So basically if you decide to go ahead with the deal, actually when the companies have decided basically to sign and to go ahead, because it's going to be a period of transition before the integration is actually going to start. what kind of elements you would have to look at if you want to carry out a cultural due diligence. This is something that I will be discussing in my next video. Thank you so much for watching.